Hey everyone, welcome back. It's the Sex Reimagined Podcast. Did you know that one of the most powerful things you can do for sexual vitality is hit the sauna? Studies show that men who use saunas 4 to 7 times a week have a 50% lower risk of erectile dysfunction, which is huge. That's compared to men who use saunas maybe once a week or not at all. So we're thrilled to talk about why saunas work so well for erectile function. And I'm Dr. Willow Brown. I'm here with the one and only Leah Piper. We are Sex Reimagined, and we've got a really cool free gift we want to tell you about.
Yeah, so while you're in the sauna, friends, maybe you've got a lover with you. And may I recommend you do some beautiful tantric kissing? And we've got you set up with our free tantric kissing training. It's really fun. You'll be so surprised about some of these tips and tricks that no one ever taught you. And we really love to tantric kiss. And now you can too. Dash on over to sexreimagined.com/free-tantric-kissing-training and get it for yourself. The link is in the show notes.
And be sure to stay until the very end of this episode because we're going to be sharing with you our favorite sex toy for vulva owners, which will increase not only your pleasure, but your function as well.
It's time now to turn on, tune in, and fall in love with Leah and Willow.
Welcome to the Sex Reimagined Podcast, where sex is shame-free and pleasure-forward. Let's get into the show.
Yeah. Okay, so this is pretty remarkable that 50% lower risk of erectile dysfunction just from taking a sauna on a regular basis.
That's amazing. I had no idea. That's so cool.
I know. Here's some other fun stats for our stat lovers out there. Regular aerobic exercise where you're panting and sweating can improve your erectile function by up to 60%. The reason why this works, the reason why heating up your body actually works is because it increases nitric oxide production, which improves blood flow and endothelial function. So just more circulation, more blood flow, especially to the heart, the genitals, all these places in the body that we want good blood flow to when we're having good sex. All of these things that we're going to talk about today pretty much all point to nitric oxide. So nitric oxide is this molecule that's already inside of your body. It's endogenous to your system, and it can literally turn up your sensitivity. It can turn up your arousal. It can completely revive your erotic life. And what we want to be doing is increasing our blood flow with nitric oxide. So now there's all these supplements on the market. You can take nitric oxide in all these different forms, but we're going to talk more about how you can just boost what's already in here inside of your body today.
Yeah, so I have experimented a little bit with nitric oxide, maybe just once or twice. I think I took a really small amount before a workout once. And then a girlfriend of mine, I can't remember why we were taking it. I don't know if she just likes the flush or whatever, but I think I took too much and my whole body flushed really red. And then it was like pins and needles all over my skin. So I know that was a dosage issue, but when someone is taking nitric oxide as a supplement, it's usually a daily supplement, correct?
Yeah, it's a daily supplement, which means, it compounds on itself, like it builds in your system and your body adjusts to learn how to use the buildup that's happening in your body slowly over time. So yeah, you want to kind of dose yourself and go low and slow, similar to what we say about peptides. When your nitric oxide is deficient in your body, you might know that by your erections. They're just not as firm. They're not as hard. They're not as lasting as long as they used to. For vulva owners, lubrication, if there's a lot of dryness and you're just really not feeling that plump juiciness in the vulvar tissues, then that could be an indication of low nitric oxide, as well as many other things. This is just a piece of the pie. If you have a deficiency of it, then it can make it harder to have those orgasms. We have people all the time who come to us, right, who are like, I'm used to have these big giant ones, and now I can barely get these little, like a fraction of what I used to get. And so, that's an indicator for me. Think, okay, well, let's look at nitric oxide as a potential way to improve your orgasmic experience.
Is nitric oxide something that you would take right before your sexual, or is it just like a daily supplement that you would take in the morning or the evening, like all your other supplements?
Yeah, that's such a good question. You can take it anytime. It's not like the peptide we were talking about earlier, like the PT-141. It's more of an ongoing, regular, you take it with all your other supplements, because not only is it going to increase your sexual function, it's going to increase your ability to run faster, further, harder,
endurance.
your endurance. Yep, exactly. Because it's increasing oxygen in your body, basically. And certain things can't live in a highly oxygenated environment, like bacterias and molds and all these things. When I was healing my body from candida, I used to put drops of food grade hydrogen peroxide in my water, to really bring more oxygen and more flow of blood to all the tissues in my body.
Can it benefit someone who does not exercise?
Yeah, such a good question. I mean, it will still benefit. It will still benefit. Because again, nitric oxide is in your body already, but then we often go through life and we go through, stress and age and issues and things, and we don't have the amount that we used to have.
Now, they say that heat exposure increases nitric oxide. Do you know why?
It's because of that circulation. And so that's why saunas, even regular saunas, they don't have to be infrared, though we will talk about why those work better, but just regular old saunas, because you're sitting in there, you're getting the heat is going into your body. It's opening up all the blood vessels. There's a big dilation thing happening in your body. So you could think about nitric oxide as like your body's natural opening signal, right? It really starts to help relax blood vessels so they can widen, so that blood can flow more fully through them. And that's why it so much supports better sex, better erections, more juicy erectile tissue in the vulva, because the blood vessels are widening, they're expanding. So I also like to just think of it as like when I take it, in my supplement regime, I know what it's doing. So I think to myself as I'm taking it, like I'm increasing my capacity to feel more of myself.
What's interesting about these three things, nitric oxide, saunas, and heat, right? Like exercise, is that really do work beautifully together because of this heat component. And I would say that every single doctor we have had on here who specialize in male sexual health, whether they are an MD, an endocrinologist, so on and so forth, every single one of them talks about exercise.
Yeah.
And I think people don't truly understand just how important exercise is to sexual health. So it makes sense that nitric oxide is going to help increase your efficacy in terms of what you're doing when you're exercising.
Absolutely. And I think that when we hear that word exercise and we're not an exerciser, we're like, oh, it sounds daunting. It sounds overwhelming, but it literally can just be going for a walk. It doesn't have to be, 45 minutes on the elliptical followed by a 25-minute swim and a bunch of weightlifting. It could be that. That's great if you're in that range, in that realm, but simply walking is just enough to get the natural endogenous nitric oxide in your body flowing. And then if you're taking it supplementally as well, or through your food, which we're going to talk about which foods will increase it, then it will function. That's what we want. We're looking for function in our bodies. That's what functional medicine, that whole world of healing is all about, is like, let's get the body functioning in a way that can give us more vitality and longevity and just a better quality of life overall. So in penis owners, nitric oxide lets the smooth muscle relax so that those chambers fill with blood and erections happen more easily. And then they actually stay harder longer. And in vulva owners, more nitric oxide, again, means better blood flow, better sensitivity, and better lubrication. So there's one of the main foods. You'll see these little things on the shelf in the health food store are these little beet chews. I actually love them. I think they're delicious.
Oh, they are good. You've given me those before.
They're like little hippie candies, I just think they're great. They're expensive little hippie candies, but they're great. So there's like the little beet chews. There's beet powders on the market because beets, or you could just eat beets, but a lot of people don't actually have beets in their diet. But beetroot actually will increase your nitric oxide because of an amino acid that is in it, which is L-citrulline. L-citrulline is the amino acid. So that's the component in beetroot that will transfer into more nitric oxide in your body.
This is a side note, but I have beet powder. And the only time I eat beet powder is on popcorn, y'all. Make yourself some popcorn, drizzle a little butter on that popcorn, and then sprinkle some beet powder and a little nutritional yeast. And I have just given you the world's greatest recipe to the world's greatest popcorn. And you may think that sounds so damn odd, but let me tell you, I've been eating it that way for 15 years and it is amazing. So now I know a little nitric oxide boost every time I make my popcorn.
Do you feel sexier and more ready for sex after you eat popcorn? Have you noticed?
Well, gosh, I do feel delicious. It's usually in front of a movie. So, feeling horny isn't totally top of mind. But, now that I know, I get to be more intentional and purposeful. So I'll test it and really see if I can feel my vulva get thicker as a result of my beet powder popcorn.
Yes, let us know how that goes. I'm curious. So yeah, nitric oxide supports like the blood flow, the circulation, but also energy, right? It's going to give you more energy to walk longer or work out longer.
De-stress you.
It's going to de-stress you and potentially also could be a key component in balancing hormones. So
yes, testosterone.
Yes, you're supporting the whole body.
That's another thing back to exercise. Testosterone is going to, when you exercise, you increase your testosterone levels. So important for men at mid-age and older.
Absolutely. So important. So what can you do today to increase your nitric oxide without even going to the health food store and buying expensive beet chews? You can eat things like beets, arugula, spinach, other dark leafy greens. All of these are really high in nitrates that the body converts into nitric oxide. You could also get the actual amino acid in a supplement. You could get L-citrulline, which the body converts into L-arginine, which then boosts nitric oxide, or you could just get some L-arginine.
Okay,
but
I've heard of both of those.
Yeah,
what exactly are they?
I'll take a pause and talk about amino acids. So they are amino acids. Anytime you hear L-glutamine, L-arginine, L-citrulline, L-anything, that is an amino acid, which is a protein. It's a building block for your body. And so there's these little receptor sites on the cells in your body. This is why the peptide therapies are so big in the industry right now. It's because they're chains of amino acids, right? And so these are single amino acids. And you can take them supplementally. I used to do it all the time. And it was really how I got myself out of states of depression. It was how I got myself out of addiction to sugar, addiction to substances, and then you can also use these amino acids to restore your brain chemistry. Since I was a vegetarian for a very long time, I didn't eat meat. And a lot of these amino acids are found in red meat. Particularly, I was eating fish, but I wasn't getting these amino acids. So as a vegetarian, if we've got any vegetarian listeners out there, I would recommend picking up Julia Ross's books. She's got a book called The Diet Cure and a book called The Mood Cure. And those two books were basically my Bibles for a long time around nutrition, because you can get over addictive habits, patterns, and behaviors, even addiction to social media, addiction to porn, all these different things that we don't think of as like problems in our physiological body, but they are. And so when we put the right amino acid into the right receptor site, that little receptor site, which I always think of as like a little Pac-Man, he's not so hungry anymore. He's like, nah, I don't need sugar. I got my L-glutamine, I don't need caffeine. I got my tyrosine in here. So.
Okay. So I've got a couple questions about that, but before we move on, if you are enjoying this episode, please like it, would you? And if you've got a question yourself, please put it in comments box, because we do look at those and we will answer those questions. Also, you might as well know that if you need some support with this type of nutrition, with your overall well-being, with your sexual health, I cannot recommend our very own Dr. Willow enough. And she gives our audience a free consultation to kind of talk about what's going on in your system, where you need more health and wellness in your life. You can always book that call if you go to drwillowbrown.com.
Perfect.
And click on the free consultation button in the menu.
Perfect.
So my follow-up question is, all those L-amino acids that I won't be able to pronounce. I've heard some of those are for joint health also, or yeah, okay. Because sometimes I try to figure out, yes, amino acid. Okay, I've got that figured out. But then there's all these other things that they do. I know that they can help with inflammation. And now we know that nitric oxide helps with blood flow. Is there anything else about those that you listed that have added benefits?
Gosh, let's see. Getting off of caffeine, getting off of sugar, getting off of alcohol,
Geez, you're really bumming me out right now. Those are a lot of fun things to get off of.
Well, if you have a good relationship with them, they're fun. If you have a poor relationship with them, they are running your life. You can overcome drug addiction. There's actually a center up in Marin that Julia Ross opened where she just, helps people get over their addictions, from addiction to craving. It's like we have these things where we're like, I'm just really craving this, and we know we're not going to feel good after we eat it, or we know we're not going to feel good after we snort it, or whatever it is, but we do it anyway. And that's because those receptor sites are so fucking hungry. They're like, give me the substance, give me the substance. But if you put the amino acid into that receptor site, the receptor site says, I'm satiated. I don't crave that anymore.
That's really, really powerful. There should be commercials on TV about that.
I know, but there's not. There's commercials about, other things that just override your system again. Exactly. Yeah. That's why I wanted to do this whole biohacking for better sex series, was because, I really wanted to do it because I just think this stuff is so important. There's so many ways to have better sex. There's communication, there's tantric practices, there's all these biohacks, which are going to set your system up to actually receive more pleasure. Like how I was saying, when I take my nitric oxide supplement and I put it into my body and I consciously think, this is allowing my vessels to expand so that I can feel more of myself. So then let's say from that state, I go into a sexual encounter, like I am going to feel more of myself. I'm going to feel more of my arousal, more of my erotic nature, more of my Shakti, and I'm going to have a way better orgasm because I'm not only feeding my cells and my body something that they need, but something that they can take me to the next level with.
Well, I think too, when you think about circulation, I also think about circuitry. And your brain is the second biggest sex organ in your body. So if you want there to be good communication, you need that blood flow to be circulating through your whole system. And when you've got places that are being engorged, you want more sensation. And I think that's also interesting that oftentimes you feel a flush, the blood comes up to the surface, even with your own skin. And your skin is the first biggest sex organ in your body. And that's where we feel most of our sensation. So kind of interesting that some of these things would tie together.
Oh, yeah. They all tie together inside of our systems. Great example of all that. Even the breath work, we did a whole podcast on breath work, and that slow nasal breathing with the longer exhales, that really supports the parasympathetic nervous system, which is that rest and digest side of your nervous system. And so many people are running at a sympathetic dominant nervous system, which means they're always in fight or flight. They're always anxious. They're always stressed. It's very hard for them to get good, deep sleep. They wake up, they need coffee. They need wine to wind down. They are just never dropping into parasympathetic. One of the huge things that I do with clients is that sometimes they get off of my table and they're like, whoa, I feel weird. And I'm like, yeah, because you're finally in a parasympathetic state.
Wow.
They're like, it feels amazing. I'm like, yeah, your body is finally relaxed, And so cranial sacral is what I wanted to say. It's one of the most amazing modalities to drop you into basically an induced meditative state where you just get to take a brain vacation. I mean, raise your hand if you want a brain vacation.
I do. So when you say cranial sacral, not everyone's going to know what that is. Can you describe what that is?
Yeah. So cranial sacral is a modality. It's a hands-on modality whereby the practitioner is listening very, very carefully to your cranial sacral rhythm, to the rhythm of your cerebral spinal fluid. So your cerebral spinal fluid flows up and down your spine at a very, very slow rate, but it does have a rhythm and it does have a rate. And you can feel that rhythm in any bone structure in your body. I can feel it in your knees. I can feel it in your toes. I can feel it in your head. And so when a cranial sacral therapist is listening to that rhythm, wherever they're touching your body, it's going to feel like a really gentle, barely touching kind of pressure. But we're listening for that rhythm and that rate. And for example, when I'm on someone's head, I'm looking for a butterfly sensation, like their cranial bones should be going symmetrically out and symmetrically in. So if you're watching this, you can see what my hands are doing. They're butterflying out and they're butterflying in at an even and steady rate. But a lot of people's cranial sacral rhythms are out of sync. They're not in rhythm. And so the left side of the head will be going out and in, but in a crunchy way and not smooth. And the right side won't be moving at all, so resetting that rhythm basically resets your entire nervous system, which is why you then drop into a parasympathetic state, which is a place where you can actually be in receptivity. And this is one of the biggest superpowers of the divine feminine, which we all carry, no matter what our gender is being able to receive. This is a huge spiritual practice. I was just talking with a man today, and he's like, I'm in pain around the fact that I am a bad receiver, like just can't ask for help. And when they can't receive it. And so that's a big practice in and of itself. A little bit of a digression there, but it's relevant.
Yeah, but that's so true. Back to the nitric oxide, I've got a question about dosage. Can you share a little bit about how much you take, and does it vary depending on what your goals are?
Whatever supplement you get your hands on, that is going to tell you on the bottle, or on the package. For those little chews, you have 2 a day, I think it is. I often get I want to have 4 a day. And I always am listening to my body. If my body's like, I want 4 today, then, I have 4. I don't worry about it. I think that our best dosage indicator is our body. It's I was watching something recently too about a little girl with autism who was just eating junk food constantly. And then her parents were like, okay, we're throwing all the junk food out and you're getting steak and vegetables. And she basically starved herself for 6 days. She would not eat it. And she was throwing tantrums, and her, autistic behavior was through the roof. And it was a super difficult period of time. But then she started eating the steak and the vegetables, and then she just couldn't get enough. She was just eating plate after plate, feeding herself for the first time.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. So
I've heard of that
our
before.
bodies get hungry for the things that they need, once we start nourishing ourselves with
Well,
that.
and then there's those foods that are highly inflammatory, which I think also makes you crave them.
Yep.
I don't know a ton about it, but I know that that's often a suggested diet for people with autism, to be on an anti-inflammatory diet and to really lessen their exposure to gluten-like items.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure, 100% makes such a huge difference. So these are sort of like, outer layer things. The first thing we want to look at is diet, and then we want to look at movement. And then we can add things like sauna. We can add things like hyperbaric chamber, which we'll talk about in a moment. But I wanted to offer just a little practice, something that you could do today as well. Yeah, you can start eating more dark leafies and some beets to get that nitric oxide boosted. But a practice you can do with a partner that can really also increase blood flow and connection is that long, slow, deep breathing together, synchronizing your breathing. So you're both breathing in together and you're both breathing out together, and bring your bodies together. And you can have one hand on the back of their heart and one hand on the back of their sacrum, with your bellies pressing together. And you're breathing in together and you're breathing out together. And then just starting to spiral your hips around in a circle from there. And it feels so good. And then you can add a little pulsing of your pubococcygeus muscles, which is like the Kegel muscles. And just doing that simple practice and that simple exercise is actually going to increase your nitric oxide as well, your circulation. And if you do this before sex, you're going to have way better sex.
It's a beautiful co-regulation exercise. It brings you into the present moment so that you're really there with yourself and you're there with your partner. Those hip spirals, they just feel so good. It's like opening up your spine, and they're sexy. And so is those pumping of your PC muscles. What's interesting about when you are squeezing and relaxing and doing those Kegel muscle exercises, you are helping the reproductive health of those organs stay lifted, and you're bringing blood flow to the genitals. When you squeeze those muscles and hyper relax them, it acts as a pump, and it ends up bringing engorgement to your genitals. And for women, it helps create natural lubrication. I highly recommend that exercise and slowing down your breath. Slowing down your breath is going to drop your adrenaline. It's going to help you shift your stress levels. That's why presence ends up being available to you, because you're really shifting your breath pattern. It is so key to so many sexual practices. And it's the one thing that'll teach you, hopefully make it feel more natural to breathe differently during your orgasm. Because a lot of people hold their breath when they come, and they're really short circuiting what could be a monster of a climax.
100%. Oh my gosh, breath can change everything in your sexuality. I want to switch gears and talk a little bit about the infrared saunas, or there's all kinds of infrared devices on the market these days, like little handheld ones, things you could put over your genitals, you can put over your skin, over your face, over your chest, to really heal the body. Because what the red light therapy is doing is it's turning on the mitochondria, which are the part of your cells which create energy. and that, blood flow to the mitochondria gives you more energy, gives you more arousal, gives you a heightened state of arousal. So infrared saunas are not only going to stimulate nitric oxide release, so you get that higher level of blood flow, but it's also going to lower cortisol, like Leah just said, lowering your stress, right? And it's going to support testosterone production and detox all the endocrine disruptors that we are swimming in, right? From detergents to poor air quality to
plastic
water bottles. Exactly.
But that doesn't mean that these infrared devices are going to make you horny. It's not like
well, they make me horny.
the VFit can make you horny. That's a very special infrared dildo device. Is it a vibrator too, or is it just a dildo?
So funny you should bring up the VFit, because I was just talking to the woman over there at VFit yesterday, and I was like, it's my favorite vibrator. And she's like, we don't call it a vibrator, Dr. Willow. It's a vaginal wellness tool. I was like, okay, well, I've been using it as a vibrator for like 10 years. So.
Yeah. And it's one of its claim to fame. And everyone's talking about the VFit, y'all. Halle Berry's been on social media talking about the VFit. It's really getting a lot of buzz. And can you say why it's special to you, especially with the red light therapy connected to it?
Yeah. So first of all, that warmth and that heat of the red light is so yummy and delicious. It just feels good. I like all the different levels of vibration. When I go to another vibrator after I've been like with my VFit for a while, the other ones feel a little bit too jarring. So I think the vibration, there's something a little bit more, I don't know what it is. The oscillations have more space between them or something. I'm not totally sure. But the VFit also comes with a photonic gel, which increases that red light therapy absorption into your tissues by 40%. So it's really like the best thing on the market for perimenopause, when our estrogen levels start to lower and we no longer have the juiciness and the plumpness of the tissues. The tissues start to atrophy when those estrogen levels go down. I'm still good with my estrogen levels in life, but I use it, and I have noticed, like, whenever I'm using it consistently and regularly, my vaginal fluids they're just more available, more ready. It's not like I'm, leaking all over the place, but I just have more juiciness, basically. So I'm a
which leads to more turn on.
Totally. Yeah. Totally leads to more turn on. I'm a huge fan of that device. Anyone who's had pelvic floor issues or pain in the pelvis, it's a great thing, because that red light is increasing mitochondria health, which is increasing ATP. So it's increasing energy, essentially.
What's ATP?
Energy.
Okay. The other thing that's kind of sexy about it is the red light just looks pretty. It's like there's something sexy about feeling and seeing that light as it penetrates you. I haven't tried it yet. I'm waiting for my VFit to get in the mail, y'all. But that's one of the things that people say. It's like, God, I love looking at this red light penetrate.
Put a mirror near where you're playing with yourself, and you get to like see your vulva in a whole new light. Basically, it's really fun. And you can get those VFits directly through me as well. I've actually got a stack of them that I'm doling out to people at this point.
So we'll have a link in the show notes. So make sure you get your VFit from us.
Yeah. So if you are preparing for date night and you're a penis owner, be sure to go get a sauna in earlier that day. Sweat, flush, and regulate your nervous system so that you go home and you're ready for your date more open, more soft, more turned on. And for our vulva owners out there, get a sauna or get a VFit and set yourself up for success that way.
Now, does it matter? And by the way, you guys, you don't have to go invest thousands of dollars on a home sauna to get these benefits. A lot of gyms now have saunas or steam rooms. Is a steam room same?
Yeah, well, steam room is also that heat and that widening of the vessels, right? Anytime we're getting hot, we're getting widening of the vessels, so more blood flow. Absolutely. And yeah, the infrared is just an additional bonus. But yeah, if you're going to a gym and you're just sitting in a normal regular sauna, still a huge benefit. Huge benefit. Now here's a more high level thing that you could do, which costs more money for sure. But you can go sit in a hyperbaric chamber. Hyperbaric chambers are where you sit in a pressurized chamber and you breathe pure oxygen. So it's really increasing your oxygen in your blood and in your tissues, which supports healing on every single level. Because remember, I said microbes, bacterias, molds, toxins, candida overgrowth, these things cannot live in a highly oxygenated environment.
Good to know. Also, there's got to be some added benefit if your sauna is an infrared sauna, not just a regular sauna, right? That's kind of like, double the pleasure there. Okay.
Exactly. Totally.
Well, thank you for this interesting episode, Dr. Willow. So nice to know that there are these things out there that no one teaches you will help your sex life. But that's why we're here. We appreciate you tuning into the Sex Reimagined podcast. Please share this episode with your friends, and we will see you on the flip side.
Thanks for tuning in. This episode was hosted by Tantric Sex Master Coach and Positive Psychology Facilitator Leah Piper, as well as by Chinese and Functional Medicine Doctor and Taoist Sexology Teacher Dr. Willow Brown. Don't forget, your comments, likes, subscribes, and suggestions matter. Realize this new world together.